That's the perfect song, Natalie.
Good.
Can you hear me? And are we recording, John?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me just look at you beautiful beings, you. Because I do have a sense that we are all called to be, and I hope you get that feeling after listening to this talk. The talk is based on The Power of Eight by Lynn Taggert. Anybody really gotten into her work before? Okay, a little, okay. I wrote about this in my blog a little bit. To me, she's an amazing, amazing woman. I guess she got started because, well, she was an investigative reporter, hard-nosed journalist, going after the story. Like her first book was about baby stealers, crime rings that adopted babies. She's an investigative reporter. And then she got sick, and so she started doing science reporting. She started investigating, and the medical profession couldn't really do anything for her. So she started investigating alternative healing methods and what worked and what didn't. And so she became pretty savvy about science reporting. And then she got interested in the power of mind. I'm not sure how that came about. But she took it on herself to go all over the world, interview all the scientists who were in their little labs, each doing a little piece of the work, and bringing it all together in one book called The Field. This is the book that changed everything. This came out in 2001, I think. And the world, and all the people, the science and spirituality people, were just completely taken with this book. It became some kind of a bestseller. And she started lecturing all over the world about this concept that there is a field that connects us all. And that is a truth that spiritual people have known about forever. But science is catching up. There's all this science that said this is in fact the truth. That just like in Star Wars, this force that connects us all. And we are part of it. We are in it. We are it. We are connected to it. Our DNA is connected to it. Our thoughts are connected to our brains. There are people saying now that our brains are not contained in our skulls, but our brains are receivers for all this stuff that's going on in the field. It's cool stuff, and those are many other talks. But anyway, at some point, then she wrote some other books, The Intention Experiment and The Bond. And she started doing her own experiments. In 2007, she wanted to prove herself that people could influence the course of the world. She wanted to do an experiment that lowered violence or something like that. But the scientists she worked with said, no, you can't do that. You have to start small. So they started and she worked with really top-notch scientists who absolutely wanted to follow the scientific method and have controls and everything. So the first experiment they did was on seeds. People in her groups, since she was speaking all over the world, she took like 10 or 15 minutes out of her speaking time and had the people in her audience send intention to the specific set of seeds, and then were control seeds. And then they would plant these seeds, all the seeds, and then they would see if the prayed over ones, the intended ones, sprouted better, grew better, and they did. It was statistically significant, these results. And so they were encouraged by that. And these are, and then she did it, she did experiments both in her groups where she was actually speaking, and then on her website, she had people on her website who were all over the world, not in the same room, do the same experiments, and they had the same results. And then the next thing they did was water experiments. They changed the cluster structure of water by people's intention. They prayed over Lake Biwa in Japan, and they moved the pH by an entire point by the power of intention. So after all these amazing results that they were getting with the power of intention, she decided to start doing workshops. Here she's getting really famous, okay? And she decided to start doing workshops. And the first one was in Chicago in 2007. And it was just divine guidance, really. She decided to put them in small groups of about 8. And each group would pick one person to send an intention to. You know, someone with a real need. And the first time she did it, she thought, oh, this is just going to be like a feel-good thing. It'll be like getting a massage or something, and everybody will just kind of feel better, you know. And then they went home that night, and then the next day, when they came back, this is like a weekend thing, she had people come up and talk about their experience of being prayed for. And she was just flabbergasted, because it wasn't just little things, it was big things. Like someone who had really bad arthritis pain, it went away, headaches went away, IBS symptoms went away, depression went away, insomnia. Just, you know, overnight they had all these ways that they were feeling really good and feeling much, much better. And it scared her. It scared the crap out of her, pardon the French. She didn't know what to make of it. And so she just ignored it. And then she kept doing these groups all over the world. She did one in Dubai. She did them everywhere, Australia. And she had the same results everywhere. People who were prayed over for 10 minutes. People got in these groups and they held hands, they joined together in consciousness, and they sent intention to this person for 10 minutes. And they had all kinds of amazing results, like scoliosis straightened, and there was this, I was interested in this because it was about scoliosis. This one lady was much better the next day, pain-free, and then a month later her daughter wrote to Lynn and said her back had straightened so much they had to readjust the mirror on the car. So, and just all kinds of stuff that she was thinking, miracles. What is this? I'm not a healer. I don't know, even want to be a healer. I don't know what to do with any of this. So this was in 2008. And then she kept doing more and more she did a peace experiment in 2008. They had to pick a place where they could measure the violence, and that's not easy to get data on body counts and stuff like that. But they found Sri Lanka. They did it in Sri Lanka. And once again, she used her people in her workshops and people on the internet to intend at certain times. They did it for a whole week, 10 minutes a day. And it did, in fact, the violence went down on those days. And really, it changed the whole course of the conflict. And still she's thinking, well, did we do this? Who knows? You know, it was all, that's the way scientists have to be. They have to just kind of, you're gathering evidence, you're gathering evidence, you're gathering evidence. And another interesting thing about that was, do you know what random event generators are? Anybody? Like, it's a machine that's like flipping a coin. So if you have two things on there, cowboys and Indians, cowboys will come up half the time, Indians will come up half the time. But if you try to change that with intention, the goal is to try to get Indians or cowboys or whoever you're intending for to come up more often. And but anyway, I forget how they did it, but Roger Nelson, this guy who has a random event generators all over the world, found that during that peace experiment, they were able to change, just in that 10 minutes they were intending, they were able to change the behavior of that random event generator. So this is pretty cool stuff, right? But then, we're getting to the point of this book, which is she just kind of, every time she did an experiment, she surveyed the participants just to find out how it was for them and how it all worked for them. And she started getting reports like this. I felt like I stepped into a palpable stream of energy along my arms and hands, which felt like it had direction and force and mass. Another one. I felt a strong magnetic force field all around me. I felt a strong current in my body. I feel like I was in a Star Trek tractor beam. These are experiences the people were having who were doing the intending, not the people who were intended for, but the people who were doing the intending. It was as if my brain was wired to a bigger network. And then the intenders also reported that after the experience, they were closer to their loved ones, they had healed relationships, they had a new life purpose, they had a more peaceful life. And so once again, she's thinking, this scares me, I don't know what to do with it. But she was paying attention. Okay, and then she did more experiments, okay. She did a peace experiment in 2011 with this guy in the Arab world, who she said he's like the Deepak Chopra of the Arab world. His name is Dr. Al-Rashed. And they prayed, they used a group of Arabs, that was his community, and they used her community, and they all prayed together for these 2 provinces in southern Afghanistan. And the casualties went down, the violence went down. And then once again, did we do this? Who knows? But what they found from the participants was that these Arabs and one of the groups was some Israeli Jews, and then other people of all religions all over the world. But what she found was that these people who had been brought up to hate and fear each other, the Arabs and the Jews, were loving each other. They were becoming prayer buddies. They were saying, your God is my God. You know, let's get along. So she was really paying attention to that. And then she formed a year-long Power of 8 group where she could follow these people all year long. And those are still going on. There's one starting in a couple days, actually. And then also she experimented with some other groups. She always gets these really good scientists to do it for her, to do the scientific work and set up the controls and everything. And this time they measured the brain waves of the participants, of the people who were doing the intending. And they found that the brain waves of these intenders in these 10-minute episodes, they got into an ecstatic oneness brainwave, like other people who had been studied, like Sufi masters, like ecstatic prayer that nuns did. So she's just flabbergasted that these people are able to get in this state of oneness in such a short time. So she's still working on all of this, okay? But she finally just said, you know, I'm interested in why this happens, but mostly I'm just happy that it's happening. I'm happy that it's happening. And she decided to have the courage to write the book, because she was been kind of in the closet with all this for 10 years. So she wrote the book. And then, so let's talk a little bit about how this could be happening, or what this is all about. And one of the interesting things to me that she said was, she went back into spiritual history to find out things that were of a similar nature. And she found this sermon by this 18th century minister, maybe it was 19th century, I don't know, long time ago, where he talked about when the early Christians prayed together in what is described in Acts as in unison, or of one accord, but the Greek word is homothumadon. And the Greek word is a compound of in unison and outburst of passion. So I looked it up in Acts, and where it talks about the early church coming together to pray, and it says in one accord, but she's saying it could have been translated, they came to pray together as one with passion. So she's theory was that Jesus taught the disciples to pray in one voice with passion. And And then he sent them out to heal. It says in Luke and Matthew that he sent the disciples out together to cast out unclean spirits and heal everyone they came across. And the theory is that that's how they did it, by this impassioned group intention and prayer. So, homothumadon and ecclesia are perfect metaphors, she realized, for a power of 8 group. A group of individuals passionately praying together as a single entity, thinking the same healing thought at the same moment. So she says that her intention groups are kind of a secular prayer group. And there are other ideas from the past. Like in Judaism, they have a minyan, a group of at least 10 people that they have to pray for certain things. The Rosicrucians have something called a Council of Solace, where they get permission and then they send healing thoughts at specific times of the day to certain people. And of course, in the Arab world, they pray 5 times a day, all together at the same time. And I don't really know what the prayers are, but that is a unified voice of intention in some way. So, how do we explain this? She says she's been satisfied that it's enough that it happens, but of course she's still exploring what is going on here. But here's some of the things she thinks are going on. One of them is the power of altruism. It's just the plain old power of giving. You get together in an altruistic way and you give to someone else. You give in compassionate oneness for someone else. And she quotes evidence in this book about how people who are altruistic are healthier and live longer and that kind of thing. And I had an interesting experience of that. Like, my guides were kind of playing with me, and they said to me, "You have been chosen for a mission." And I perked up. Will you accept? And then they told me the reason they did that was because that's what people want. People are inherently altruistic. They want to help. They want to be chosen for a mission. And that's what happened in these Power of 8 groups. They were given this opportunity. I mean, I'm sure they could have said no. But think about it. The people who were in her workshops in the first place, they paid money. They got in a car or a plane and flew to be in her presence. So they're already high consciousness giving kind of people. All of her experiments were done with volunteers, people who went to her website, people who were interested in her ideas about oneness. So there you have people who are full of compassion and who are givers, for starters, and that has a lot to do with it. People want to give, and there's a lot in some of our other books about how we're hardwired to give. Like she talks about in this one, The Bond, about how we're hardwired to be altruistic, not like Darwin said, we're about survival of the fittest. We're hardwired to help each other. So that's one thing, the power of altruism. Another thing is that we're hardwired for oneness, that we are one. We're all connected in this field. And so anytime we have an opportunity to get together as one, that feels really good and true and something we really want to do. I was thinking about it. I've done that many, many times over my 30 years in Unity. Anytime, Tim knows, anytime there was any kind of global prayer going on, we would get together and pray with all these other people who were praying. You guys used to meet and do that. We had that New Year's morning thing for years where people were praying all over the world, and you get together and join together, and that just feels really good. So it's altruism, it's oneness, and then she talks about an X factor. That's where that's kind of fun, because to me the X factor is God. You know, God getting in there. Okay, here are all these people joined together. let's use this for good, you know. And interestingly, she says a lot of the empathic people in her workshops see these beings of light behind everybody in these groups. So there's your X factor. And other people I've read, I can't think of his name right now, Joe Dispenza, when he does his workshops, he sees these huge beings kind of lining the walls. And they're observing, but they're also helping. And in Lynn's workshop, she said some of the people report that they felt like a warm mitt on their knee when they were intending for the knee to be healed. They felt this warm mitt on their knee. So that's the X factor. Helpers, light beings, you know, God, taking this opportunity to heal. And there's probably many other reasons why these things work, but I just think it's cool, and that we should take advantage of this, you know, that this kind of information is something we could use, like just in our church, just to think about, here we are, we're already here, we're all together, and everything that happens, like when we do our intention statements, especially when we do our prayer at the end, we can just kind of consciously join together as one of these groups and do our intending as one. Just a little more consciously, you know, because we're already doing it, but just the idea that joining together as one has this power, you know, might add to the effect. And we might consciously add things, you know, like every time we do a prayer, we could see it as an intention. So, I just want to say a little bit more about what you do in these groups. Well, maybe I'll wait and do that before the meditation, because we're going to try this. We're going to try this. So, how do we incorporate these ideas into our life in other ways? Well, another thing about church we could use, like when I do the peace song, if the kids aren't acting up too much, I try to visualize our earth, you know, like I try to close my eyes and visualize the world surrounded by light and filled with peace. So that's an intention. We could do intention during the peace song. And through any of the things we do, the sayings we do and the readings we do, anytime we're all doing the same thing at the same time. So if you want to get involved with her, she has this website. I think if you're interested in this at all, the first thing is to get on her mailing list, because they do a weekly intention, and then you'll know when she does the next global thing. I'm hoping she's going to go ahead and do something for Democrats and Republicans. She's talked about that, so I hope she's able to figure out how to do that, you know. These are huge projects that she does. I have so much admiration for the woman. So her website, and you can go on there and join a Power of Eight group. I'm thinking about starting one, a virtual one, where we just all stay at home and join together at a certain time of the week. You know, like at 9:30 at night or something, and just we'd email ahead of time or text ahead of time what the intention was going to be, and then just all join our hearts and minds passionately, homo thumadon, for that intention. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Okay, let's. I would just like to say thank you to Lynn Taggert, and I believe she was divinely called and divinely inspired to do all this work about the power of intention and what we can do to change our world. So thank you, God. Amen. That's the end of the talk. Now let's do it. Let's do the meditation. So I guess. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter.
Are you recording?
Yes, go ahead and record it. So I just came up with this intention. It's kind of long, but you'll get the idea quickly. So the intention is for everyone, and that's the way they do their intentions, for everyone, or all of us, or we intend for Unity Spiritual Center of Manhattan to be an instrument of God in bringing a sense of peace, abundance, and wholeness to the individuals we can touch. So that's individuals. And helping to create a world that works for everyone. That's global. And for everyone who cares about Unity Spiritual Center of Manhattan, to be guided to know how to contribute to these goals, energetically and through action. So that's long, but you get the idea. I'll say it again. We intend for Unity Spiritual Center of Manhattan to be an instrument of God in bringing a sense of peace, abundance, and wholeness, that's in our prayer that BJ made up, to the individuals we can touch, and helping to create a world that works for everyone. Okay, that's the intention. So let's just close our eyes and one of the things that we do in the group is we form the connection. So let's just in our mind's eye imagine that we're sitting in a circle and we're holding hands or touching, Wi-Fi, energetically touching, forming a sense of oneness, forming a passionate unison, thinking as one mind in one accord. And then how we're going to do this is we're going to hold that intention in our minds. We're going to breathe in and out and get our bodies relaxed, and then we're going to focus our minds on the intention, and then after a little while we're going to move down into our hearts and make a compassionate connection to everyone we're praying for in that intention, and make a compassionate intention for our church. And then we're just going to come back to the intention and then do whatever visualization feels right that accompanies this intention. So we're not going to do this for 10 minutes, but we're going to do it for maybe like 5 minutes. So let's just go ahead and start sending this intention. I'll say it one more time. We intend for Unity Spiritual Center of Manhattan to be an instrument of God in bringing a sense of peace, abundance, and wholeness to the individuals we can touch, and helping to create a world that works for everyone. And for everyone who cares about unity, to be guided to know how to contribute to these goals, both energetically and through action.